Hey, Tandem here, and I've got some great news, especially for those of you who use Android phones and tablets. The other day, Mike and I were talking, and he mentioned quite a few of you are on Android, like I am, and you're listening to the podcast that he's making, but you can't write reviews or read reviews on Android the way that our friends who use Apple do. So I got to look, and I found the way. Maybe it's not the only way, but definitely the best way I found to do this. And so I'm going to show you how to not only the best program out there to subscribe to podcasts and to listen to podcasts on your Android phone, but it will also allow you to read and write reviews. And you can also read the iTunes reviews through this app on Android. And you can even read them before you sign up for a podcast. So let's go through that right now. Now, for those of you who are on Apple, go ahead and watch this anyway. And that way, if you've got friends who are Android users, you can point them to this and help them out. Now, if you don't want to stick through the whole tutorial on how to do this for Android, if you're an Apple user, sorry about that, don't know what happened there. Just look right down there at the bottom of the screen, and I've got listed the search terms to find our podcast. Those work in iTunes or Stitcher or just about any place you get your podcasts. And that'll get you to our older ones that Mike and I did together. They're between 20 and 40 minutes. A lot of conversation and question and answer type stuff. But for his new stuff, the 5 Minutes to Better Sundays podcast that he's doing, just put in Better Sundays and it'll come up with the new ones. Now, I subscribe to both, and I really recommend subscribing to both. They cover some different things and in some different ways. So anyway, without further ado, here we go, installing and using Podcast Addict. Podcast Addict is the number 2 podcast app on Android, and it has some features like the ability to read and write reviews and read Apple reviews that things like Google Podcast and Stitcher just don't have. I used to be a big fan of Stitcher until they took away the ability to read and write reviews on their mobile apps. So I kind of moved away from that. Found Podcast Addict this morning, and I was so excited about it that I had to get this video together and show y'all how to use this, because this solves a problem, and I think it's a great app. So here we go. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, search for Podcast Addict in the Google Play Store, and that will select Podcast Addict. That'll bring you right here, and then go ahead and click Install. And yep, we're going to go through the whole thing here. And I'm using a... no. I don't use this Google account very often at all. This is kind of a dummy account that I put together just for this sort of thing. So it's not completely set up. And I'm also doing this on an emulator called BlueStacks, which allows you to run Android programs on your Windows computer. So, okay. Click Install. It also runs a little bit slow. There we go. Now it's starting to install. Part of the slowness is, well, this is an old laptop I'm using. So while we're downloading this, I'm also using the program that I'm using to put together this video is called OSB, Open Source Broadcasting. and that it's a multi-platform program. So if you're using a Mac or you're using a Linux box, it'll work just as well on there. It allows you to do overlays and text, and I can even get fancy with the text and make it spin and stuff if I want to. But the main reason I like it is because it allows me to show you my screen, but also lets you see my happy smiley face at the same time. Okay, so now it's installing it. And with BlueStacks, you can use the Google Play Store the same as you would if you were on your phone or tablet. And it's great for some stuff. One, for stuff like this, for shooting video of how to do things on an Android. But it's also good for stuff that there are some apps. Go ahead and open that, that you want to be able to use on your phone and on your computer, and they just don't have a PC version, and so you can use something like this. A lot of guys use it for games. This is the first time I've used these two programs together. In fact, I haven't used BlueStacks in years. So if there's any glitches, we're going to find them together. Won't that be fun? Okay, here on the opening screen, you can choose whether you want the light theme or the dark theme. I'm not one who really cares over much. And down here, now if you so this button right here will actually show up on that first screen. You don't have to Drive sign in. Now if you're not going to leave reviews, you don't have to sign in on Google Drive. But if you are going to leave reviews, you do have to sign in to your Google account. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. I said, here we go. Yeah, and this is actually a lot faster on your phone. So if you're doing this on your phone while you're watching this video, you can get ahead of me really fast. And then if you have multiple Google accounts like I do on my phone, just pick which one you want to be tied to this. In this BlueStacks installation, I've only got the one dummy account. And I imagine most of you probably only have one Google account that you use. Yeah, I do apologize for how slow this is. This does go, like I said, a lot faster on your phone. Okay, and then go ahead and give it the permissions it asks for. That's interesting. Even grabbing the scroll bar works backwards. Okay, and here just a second, we'll actually be in Podcast Addict. Signing in is just that easy, and you don't have to sign up for any separate accounts or anything like that. And like I said, if all you're going to do is listen to podcasts and subscribe to podcasts and you're not going to leave reviews, you don't have to sign into Google Drive. And if you decide not to sign in right now, but you decide you want to leave a review for a podcast later, when you click on Write Review, it will prompt you to sign into Google Drive then. Okay, just a few more seconds and this should be good to go. Let's see if it'll let me click early. There we go. Quick warning on Android devices. If your phone shuts off this app to save battery, it runs automatic and downloads podcasts for you. and reaches out. You can go into your battery settings and battery optimization and click the not optimized Podcast Addict. I've actually done that with just on my phone to my computer, and I have to make that not optimized, or else it fails miserably. And there are a few other apps that are the same way. Okay, now we're ready to go. Okay, so to find the podcast that we want, we're going to go up here to this little plus button right here, and we're going to click on that. Okay, and it's going to come up with a whole list of stuff. But since we're looking for a couple of very specific things, we're going to look for Mike's Better Sundays podcast first. So we just type in Better Sundays. There we go. There we go. Well, that was cute. And hit enter or click on search down here. There it comes. Okay, and you want this Better Sundays podcast by Mike Holmes. So we'll go ahead and click on that one. Okay, now, to subscribe to it, you'll just click that subscribe button there. We'll do that here in a second. But first, let's make sure that this is, kind of what we want here. Okay, now there is a description for the podcast down here, and a you may also like, which is our older reachkeep.com podcast. So click on reviews here. Now you notice there are no reviews in Podcast Addict, but if you look here, oh, yes there is, and it's actually one that I left this morning. But if you click on iTunes, looky there, you get all the reviews that were left on iTunes for this podcast. And you can scroll down through those and read all of those. But we're going to... now, on your actual phone, you can just click back. And I'm not sure. Yep. So we'll just click back there. And we'll scroll back up here. And we're going to go ahead and... what are you doing now? Apparently I found settings I didn't mean to find. There we go. And we'll go ahead and subscribe. And boom, we are subscribed to the Better Sundays podcast. Okay, now, if you go to podcasts, that's all that's going to show is the podcast that you are actually subscribed to. I think the next time I do one of these with BlueStacks, I'll go ahead and do all this, chop it up first, and then overlay the audio on it. Okay, so you see we're in the Better Sunday. We got the... I don't want to go back to Google Play, thank you. I said no. Okay, as I was saying, I might do all the video for this first and then chop it off and then do the audio. I think maybe what I'll do later. But you can also see here there are 20 episodes of this podcast that I have not listened to on this account. But I also want to get the old reachkeep.com podcast. So I just click on that plus button right there. And again, I will search. And I want Reach Keep. And go ahead and search for that. Now, if you are looking for the Reach Keep podcast, make sure this button is not checked. We haven't actually recorded a new episode of that podcast in a while. So if you check that box, it may very well not show up. And there we are, the Reach Keep podcast. We'll go ahead and click on that. And again, you can look at, and here's another nice thing. Not only can you look at the reviews, okay, and this one does not have any reviews in Podcast Addict yet. But on iTunes, there are actually quite a few. Well, there used to be, I saw it. Apparently we only have, now, when I did this on my phone earlier, there were a lot more than 2 reviews showing. So I'm not sure why it's only showing those 2 going through this emulator. Okay, but we'll go back. And you can also check out the episode list. And this is really nice if you're looking for a specific subject that we may have covered. Okay, and now it's going through our entire back catalog of podcasts that we've uploaded. And here in just a second, it's going to show us those. Cool, and at the moment the screen is as black as the hole where the Romans shoved Paul. There we go. Okay, so you can look at some of the older podcasts that we did, Getting Guests to Return, Connection Cards, How to Do Better Bulletins, great ideas for Mother's Day. And this actually goes all the way back to, I believe, 2012 is what Mike told me the other day. Here's one that a lot of guys are looking for. Smart Facebook for Churches. That's on here. We actually have a lot of stuff on Facebook. Recruiting volunteers. I know that's handy for a lot of folks. That's actually one of the One of the big questions we get around here is, how do I get people to help? How do I get volunteers? How do I get them to stick around more than a week? That one right there can help you with that. Getting them to come early and commit. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff on here, and this is just scrolling way too slow. It's really kind of unresponsive. Oh, here we go. Our Sunday school training, Sunday school teacher training modules, a team-driven church, back to school, back to church, greeting systems, day camps, digital photography. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff on there. Older stuff, it's still valid, it's still good. We just haven't recorded any new ones for a while, so it may not show up if you've got that discontinued button checked up there. So that is basically how to subscribe to a podcast and read and write reviews on Android in a nutshell. I really hope this was useful for you. That the whole reason I did this is because I feel that this could be a great tool for some of you. Of course, the Apple people, the Apple Podcasts has this functionality built in where Google Podcasts doesn't. So we had to find a different app that would do that, and this one is great. So hopefully this information has been helpful, even though there was some serious lag in there, and I'm hoping it's I hope I was concise as I think I was. So hey, feel free to share this with anyone else that you think might be able to use it as well. And don't forget to sign up for those 2 podcasts down there. The Better Sundays podcast is about 5 minutes long. It's great for on your way into work or on your way to the store. It's just short, really useful stuff that Mike's putting together. And if you've got some a little extra time, the older Reach Keep podcast cover some different stuff than what Mike's covering now, and they cover it in a different way. So they're a little longer. They're about half hour each. But as you saw there, well, and you can even see right there on the screen I've still got up, what parents look for in a church. Really, really good, useful stuff. And hey, while I'm thinking about good, useful stuff, don't forget about the Reach Keep Academy. If you're not already an Academy member, keep watching in the Facebook groups and for emails from Mike detailing how you can get in on the Academy. Now, the Academy, has a lot of content in it. We took the entire course that we were selling for about $700, and we broke that up and we put it into the Academy, which is running, I believe, at $39 a month. But watch for sales on that, because we do it a lot cheaper, fairly often actually. And it's a limited time enrollment thing. We'll open it up a couple, 3, 4 times a year. But not only does it have the course in it, but you also get direct contact with me and Mike to answer questions. We do coaching calls. We can help with your Facebook, your website, give you some ideas there. And just anything really you have questions on, we're there to answer. We've got an app for it, and we scroll through the app fairly often looking for questions. It's got its own private Facebook group, so that people who have questions that are part of the Academy can ask questions there. And that group gets a little higher priority than the Reaching Young Families and the ReachKeep.com regular groups do. And there's more content being added to that. It's not just the course that we offered, but there's other stuff coming into that too. So absolutely make sure you check that out. Like I said, that's a limited enrollment thing, so watch for those enrollment windows to come open. Also, go to ReachKeep.com. We've got a lot of blog posts, a lot of podcasts, a lot of video. We also have our reachkeep.com YouTube page, and we also have the Reaching Young Families page. So we have a lot of free resources out there as well, but the very best of the stuff is definitely in that academy. So hey, until next time, like I said, I hope this was useful, and I hope to be able to help you with many, many more things Mike and I both do. Here's hoping you have a blessed week. Oh my goodness, my tongue does not want to work today.